Today, we're heading to a spot in Ireland where the history revolves around pirate queens and holy mountains. Join me as we head up to Westport in County Mayo. Welcome to another episode of the Traveling in Ireland podcast. We're heading a bit north of the tourist trail in this podcast up to Westport in County Mayo. And I am speaking with Biddy. And Biddy, what exactly is it that you do? I didn't ask this, and I should have. I wasn't thinking in our pre-chat.
Not at all. Well, Jody, I'm delighted. Thank you for having me. And I suppose I'm part of a team of people that bring Westport House to life for our visitors. So I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. It's that kind of a place. But I suppose my two main areas of responsibility are kind of making sure the operations, the whole place is up and running from a general management perspective, as well as the promotions, the sales and marketing behind the place. So making sure people know all about us and that they try to bring people in to visit the place.
Wonderful. And Westport House is, like I said, it's a bit north of that kind of invisible line between Galway and Dublin that a lot of tourists don't have a tendency to, venture north of. So, Westport is such a beautiful village, and Westport House has a history that goes back a long, long way, and it's a fascinating place to visit.
It sure is. And you're so right about Westport. It's for the overseas, for the international visitors and the US in particular, it's a real hidden gem. It's very well known and very popular with Irish people, so people in the know in the country. It would be up there. It's the number one tourist destination in the country, to be honest. It's been voted the best place to live in Ireland by the Irish Times newspaper, and it's won multiple awards for its presentation and for tourism. So it's really well known in the Irish market, but not yet very well known to the overseas market. So definitely a really, really good time to visit the town itself. Now the town is we're celebrating our 250th birthday this year. So we've got lots and lots of celebrations going on in Westport. And Westport House plays a huge part in that, because really the people who built Westport House back in, their history, as you said, they go back to the 16th century to a pirate queen who had a castle on the site that the current house is built on. So the story dates back, 5 centuries to this fabulous pirate queen who ruled the seas from Scotland to Spain. Her name was Grace O'Malley, and she, in my mind, would be inspirational had she lived today for everything that she achieved 5 centuries ago. She's amazing.
Right.
We love her.
For people who they hear 5 centuries and can't quite wrap their head around that time frame, she was a contemporary of Queen Elizabeth I. So, and actually had some direct connection with Elizabeth. In fact, going to London to kind of hash out some differences there. So it's a great
Big
story.
Time. She's amazing, and we love speaking about her. She was phenomenal. As I say, she was amazing for her time. And yes, she managed to negotiate the politics of court back in the 16th century to finagle it so that she could meet Queen Elizabeth I in order to negotiate her son's freedom. Her son had been taken capture by Queen Elizabeth's agent in the west of Ireland because she was such a divil and such a thorn in his side, being the pirate queen that she was. So this George Bingham captured her son and thought that he was going to get the upper hand on Grace O'Malley, and having done that. But actually what she did was she decided she would go sail over to Greenwich in London and negotiate the politics at court. She spent 2 years there learning the ways of the world, and finally got a viewing or a meeting with Queen Elizabeth I. And at this stage, the two ladies there were two old women. They they had to communicate in Latin because obviously Queen Elizabeth spoke English and Grace O'Malley spoke Gaelic or Irish, so they couldn't converse in their own mother tongue, so they conversed in Latin the two of them in their early 60s as and acknowledging each other as contemporaries.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I mean, for anybody to get to meet the Queen of England, let alone this amazing woman from the wild west of Ireland, was just stunning. And she managed to negotiate her son's freedom and sail back to Ireland and live out her days in peace. So she's a phenomenal character, and that's only one of the stories. I mean, we could talk about her all day. We really could.
Exactly. But it's a great ground story for what became Westport House, because until recently that plot of land and that house was in the same family. So, you know, kind of ran through the family for a number of years.
Absolutely. So the current house, the stunning house, and I do encourage people to check out our website because it's the kind of place that needs to be seen. It is a beautiful house. It's been called the most beautiful house in Ireland. And the current version of the house was built in 1730 on the ruins of one of Gráinne Wales castles. And in fact, the dungeons from one of our castles are still in the basement of the house. So you can still see her remnants there. So there's a physical connection to Grace O'Malley, but there's also a family connection. The Brown family that you mentioned, who built the house back in 1730, they actually still do own it. It's in the process of being sold to another local family, which is a really good news story. But currently, it is still owned by the Brown family, who built it back in 1730. And the two daughters who run the business, they're actually Grace O'Malley's great times 14 granddaughters. So they're her 14th great granddaughters, and the house is built on the site of one of her castles. And as I say, the house itself is just gorgeous. There's something like it's purely a museum house. It's not an accommodation or a hotel. It's basically like walking back into the 18th century when you walk into the house, and that's kind of what we're trying to get across, is what life would have been like, that kind of Downton Abbey type experience, if you like, back in the 18th century, and our visitors love it.
And it's a beautiful house. I mean, I remember our first visit, we were walking upstairs, and I said to my husband, I said, I think it's a Renoir, right? In the upstairs, there's a painting. And he argued with me about it, saying, no, there's no way it could be an original. And it is. So there's amazing paintings and statuing and things like that through the house that just will blow you away.
Yeah, no, there's thousands, literally thousands of pieces of artwork and artifacts throughout the whole house that you know, literally around every corner. You could spend hours in that house. I mean, I'm still finding stuff that in the house, having been here 7 years, still finding beautiful pieces that, you know, gosh, you kind of overlook because you're kind of looking at the bigger wow stuff. Mm-hmm. It's a fabulous, fabulous house.
And then you also have events that go on there. So it's not just one of those things where, you know, people can come and tour the house, which of course they can do. But then throughout the year you have different events, and then there are always things going on the grounds.
Absolutely. So the house itself, as you say, is lovely. But I suppose back when it was opened as a visitor attraction in the 60s, Lord and Lady Altamont, they realised that, gosh, on the west coast of Ireland, you know, there aren't that many people that are only interested in historic houses. So they started to add other attractions. So they were really creative in their approach to this house. You know, I mean, they opened it out of necessity, really. There had been a kind of a succession of deaths in the family, and as a result, death duties or inheritance taxes, for want of a better word, that were crippling the place. So they had no choice really but to open it up to the public. And in doing so, they kind of realized, gosh, you know, the house itself is great and beautiful, but you know what, these heritage enthusiasts are bringing their kids along, and we should provide something for the kids. So out of that grew the Pirate Adventure Park, which is, I wouldn't call it a theme park. It's more of a kind of an old school type adventure park for kids under 12. So it's a mecca, and at the moment, because it's I suppose it's almost our equivalent to spring break here, our Easter midterm break, we're welcoming hundreds of families at the moment, with loads of kids running around, enjoying slides and boats and our giant swans and train rides and log flume splash rides and swinging ships and all sorts. So the Pirate Adventure Park is just one attraction. There's a whole bunch of carnival rides. We have a caravan and camping park on site. We have a sightseeing train tour. And as you say, we do a whole bunch of events throughout the year as well, just to keep giving people a reason to come back to see us, you know, and to make sure that we're, I suppose, have that seasonality that people want. You know, not everybody will visit us during the summer months.
I know that that when we visited, we did high ropes. Is that still?
Yes.
So, and then there was something with like an archery tag.
Yeah, so we actually have a bunch of adventure activities for older kids. So, I mean, we talked about the kids under 12, and we have the grown-ups covered in the house. You know, but we needed something for those teenagers and kind of 20, 30-somethings. So, yeah, we've got Ireland's longest zip wire on the site, and we have archery is really, really popular because I suppose it's so fitting. It's so of the place to shoot a bow and arrow. And likewise, we do have a brand new, brilliant orienteering course.
Oh, fabulous.
Throughout the site. Yeah, great.
And then another thing you've just added is a falconer.
Yes, I was hoping you'd mention this.
Oh.
Our new, brand new Birds of Prey Centre.
Jason is fabulous because he is also at another great place in Mayo called Mount Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how when I saw that he was there, I was kind of,
you recognized his face, didn't you?
I recognized his face, and I was excited because he is brilliant.
He sure is. He is so passionate and enthusiastic and knowledgeable about these beautiful birds. Every single person who attends one of his shows or does one of his private hawk walks around the grounds, the first word out of their mouth is that was brilliant. Everybody just absolutely adores it. So we've got white owls called Ghost, we've got Gandalf, the great grey owl, we've got falcons, peregrine falcons, the fastest animals on Earth, as well as his partner Ella with him, delivering a show daily at 3 o'clock. And then for anybody who wants to have more of a kind of, I suppose, more of a powerful experience, he'll do a private hawk walk through the woods, and you put on the leather gauntlet or the leather glove, and you feel the kind of mighty power of this bird, you know, this bird of prey coming flying in at warp speed to land on your arm, but landing like a feather. I mean, it just blows people away. It's an amazing experience.
There's nothing like it because, yeah, to feel
You've
that
done it, right?
I have with Jason. He was the first hawk walk we did actually, and you know, to feel that, to have that hawk's eyes on you and know they're focused on you, you kind of get an idea of what maybe that mouse feels like.
Feel like a little mouse, yeah.
But then they land so lightly on your arm, and it's amazing that this massive bird can weigh so little. It's an amazing, amazing thing. So that's brand new. I was excited to see that happening.
It is. I mean, we've worked with Jason for quite a number of years. He was with us a few years ago, and he's come back again. And we couldn't be happier, to be honest with you. He is such an ideal fit for the place. Our visitors absolutely love the experience, and he's just, everybody goes away wowed by the whole experience. It's brilliant.
It is. Now, you also, you know, in addition to having, you know, the amazing house and the, the camping on site, and I think do you have yurts or
yeah, bell tents.
Like
yeah, we rent out bell tents for people who want to try camping but really can't be bothered to put up a tent or don't want to buy all of the stuff, you know. They just want to do it for a couple of nights.
Great.
So yeah, we make that happen, which is great.
And you have the adventure park, and you have the more active, you know, adventures for older. And then you host events, like you said, you just had Easter. I know you do a fabulous Halloween. And there were a few other things
you were here.
There were a few other things you do during the year as well. So it's, you know, you can visit at any time, but then you can also visit for these kind of special events. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we do a mixture of kind of our own events that we run, which are things like our Easter egg hunt, and our giant pink bunny comes out to join us and is a massive hit. Our Halloween Fest event, which you experienced with the family, which is all about kind of pumpkin carving and meeting the white cat and going down to the dungeons and scary story time and things like that. And then at Christmas, we do a really magical winter wonderland experience where kiddies come into the house and they get to sit with Mrs. Claus by the fireside and hear stories, and then we go and meet Santa Claus, and he has something special to say to each of the kiddies, and we have a lovely train ride in the grounds, and we make Yuletide logs for the family to take home. It's really, really special. And then we also partner with other people to run events. So we do some really big events on the lawn, like music festivals. And we have some really big American acts, actually, Nashville acts, coming to a brand new festival that's going to happen. So Nashville comes to Westport at the end of August, the 26th and 27th of August, and we'll have Miranda Lampert, and we'll have Charlie Pride. Yeah, I know. Can you believe it? No. So I'll be getting my Stetson out, and I'll be getting my cowboy boots out to have a good old country hoedown with Charlie Pride in Westport.
Oh my gosh, that's just amazing. That's fabulous.
You know, it's going to be amazing. I can't believe it, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Now, Westport itself. So Westport House obviously is a great reason to visit Westport, and you know, I know from I fell in love with Westport during our first visit, and we actually have returned a couple of times.
We captured your heart, didn't we?
Oh my gosh, yes. People actually ask me, they say, what's your favorite county? And it's kind of like, you know, picking my favorite child, but I have to tell you, Westport, I tell people if I could move, it would be Mayo.
Yeah, the best place to live in Ireland.
Something about that. But Westport itself really laid out to be a very easy to maneuver city. It's very square. It's very walkable. And it's one of the few planned towns in Ireland, Jody. And literally, I think there's 3 towns in Ireland that were planned. A lot of other towns literally grew up around industry or ports or, you know, organically, I suppose, for want of a better word, whereas Westport was very much planned. And it goes back to, I mentioned earlier, it's the town's 250th birthday this year. And we date the birthday back to an advert that was placed in a paper in Dublin on St. Patrick's Day in 1767, advertising for tradesmen and craftsmen and carpenters to come and build the new town of Westport. And basically what it was the lord of the manor at Westport House employed an architect, and it was I suppose the Brown family that were the patron of this new town of Westport. They decided, you know, they really wanted to create a lovely settlement, and they wanted to extend their own estate and build that out. And so they literally picked up and moved people's houses and set up a lovely structured town. So there's a lovely linear pattern to it. They canalized the river. So the river was a very winding Carabeg River, and it's been canalized with beautiful tree-lined avenue on either side, and there were Georgian buildings built on either side. They built the linen mills at the harbour, and in fact there was a thriving linen industry for years. But we're left with some beautiful old buildings out at the harbour now that the mill business has gone astray. The mills are left intact and have been rejuvenated for a variety of uses. And so the whole town, I suppose, was built, you know, there's such a massive connection between Westport and Westport House. You know, the whole town is the way it is because of that estate. And likewise, I mean, you know, I've spoken a lot about the built aspect of the town, but I mean, if you look at the, you know, when you come into Westport, when you drive in the main road into the town, the first thing that people notice is how green it is. You know, there is so much planting, so many trees and green areas in the town, and they really make the whole urban experience of the town really, really special. Mm-hmm. And then you just happen to have a fantastic town council who in the last 20 years have really worked with all of the businesses in the town to really bring up the standard, bring up the planting, the beautiful flowers throughout the place, the presentation of all the shops and the businesses. So it's a really cute town, you know, it's got all those, you know, what your listeners will imagine, you know, all those multicolored shop fronts and the old, quaint, kind of old style
shop fronts. We've managed to retain an awful lot of that. So it's a really charming, pretty town to walk around as well. It's lovely.
It is. It's perfect for a few days stay. We stayed in actually an Airbnb apartment that was right on the canal, and
gorgeous.
And you walk into the village, you buy your groceries, you stop and you maybe have a drink sitting outside of a pub, and there's bakeries and little shops. It's perfect. It's just a perfect.
It's very easy, isn't it?
Town. It is. It's very much.
And Jody, I wouldn't be surprised if you came back with the family to settle down someday, because, I mean, that's one thing, like, Westport has a very authentic, small Irish town feel to it. It's got something really special. I don't mean to just keep going on about what a great, but it really does. I mean, what we've found over the years, and I'm from Westport. I lived in California for years, and I came home, and this is where I wanted to be. This is where I wanted to bring up my kids, even though I had an amazing time. I love San Francisco, but I wanted to come home to Westport, and I feel very blessed that I did. But a lot of people that come to Westport, as holiday makers, they like it so much that they think, gosh, I'm going to buy a property and I'm going to move back there. So it's got a really nice kind of cosmopolitan feel to it as well that makes people, I think, makes everybody feel comfortable, because you do hear French and German accents and American accents and English accents, and these are people that have settled down and made their lives here. So it's got a lovely blend to it, a kind of cultural blend as well, on top of the strong Irish notes, if you like.
Yeah, it's really one of those towns that you can pop in for a few days and you instantly feel very comfortable. It's a great town. And every time I get people to get up that way, it's one of the raves that I hear is, oh my gosh, Westport was just amazing. It blew me away. So,
and do you know what I think one of the things is, though, Jody? Really, I think a lot of Westport is, like, if you look at the hotels in Westport, for example, there's I think 11, 12 hotels in the whole area. They're all owned by families from the town. None of them are big multinational groups. You won't find a Hilton. No offense to Hilton, they're fabulous products, but these are all individual properties that are run by families who are steeped in the town, and they take great pride in their place and in extending that warm welcome. And every business in the town. So, I mean, I talked at the top about, Westport House is still family owned, and that's what makes us, one of the things that makes us really different, and one of the things that we're all thrilled, with the new ownership, and with the transition to the new owners. I mean, we're absolutely thrilled that the new owners are from Westport. They are three brothers who own a hotel in town and own a very successful workwear business as well. But the fact that Westport House will stay in family ownership is really special, and I think it's one of the things about the whole town of Westport and all of the businesses in Westport is that it really does have that family feel, and you're getting to meet real Irish people. Our holidaymakers and our visitors get to meet real Irish people, and that's what, I mean, I know if I go to America, I want to meet Americans, So, I mean, that's what people, such a big part of coming to Ireland is meeting really friendly, nice Irish people and having the crack and, having a bit of fun and getting under the covers a little bit.
Right. Now, obviously, because you are at Westport House, we've talked pretty extensively on Westport House, which is kind of that star attraction, if you will, for Westport. But so that people have kind of an idea of other things to do. I know there are a few. Crowpatrick, which is the Holy Mountain, is just south of town.
Beautiful.
And you
absolutely beautiful.
If you are up to it, you can climb it. I know that I haven't.
You don't have to. And this is what I tell people. If you want to climb it, and you've got kind of 3 to 4 hours to do that, the view, it's so well worth it. It's gorgeous. But likewise, you only have to go a couple of 100 meters, or a few hundred feet up to be able to get that view of Clew Bay, the wild Atlantic. The bay that Westport is set in is called Clew Bay, and there's something like 365 islands in the bay, so it's worth going up Crowpatrick, even, as I say, even just a few hundred feet to get that view, because it's stunning. And then you can pick the island that you want to go and visit.
And then, so again, there's, obviously boat tours out. There is the Great Western Greenway, which is an amazing bike ride. We actually did the entire thing last summer, so all 43 kilometers.
Impressed.
I dragged my girls down it, They were hurting by the end.
But what an achievement.
It was amazing. And not far out from Westport is the Irish, let's see if I can get this right, the Irish Museum of Country Life.
Very
which
good.
is in Castle
Very
Bar,
good.
and
Yes.
definitely worth seeing.
Stunning.
So I mean, and I mean, I know I'm missing something else. There's so much more to do.
Look at we're blessed in Westport and in the whole of Mayo region. We really are blessed with things to do. Look, the Great Western Greenway, as you said, is a fantastic day out for all ages, to be honest with you. And the beauty of the Greenway is not everybody has to do all 42 kilometres or 26 miles. You can work with a bike hire company and they'll drop you out at the scenic points. You can do,
yes.
As much or as little as you feel comfortable doing, And they'll also, another thing they do that I think is cool is they can arrange to do, bring picnics for you, or they can arrange for you to cycle to a certain point, have a picnic, and then hop in a kayak and go for a little kayak out in the bay and then hop back on your bike. So, I mean, there's loads of different ways you can experience the Greenway, which are really fun and quite different. And then, as you say, the National Museum of Country Life in Castlebar is stunning. It takes a slice of life from 1850 to 1950, and it talks about rural country Ireland and the farming lifestyle, and it just tells the story so well. It's got thousands of artefacts relating to that period, and a really great team of people there that just love to talk about it too. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then did you make it to Achill? Did you spend some time in Achill while you were here, Jody?
We drove around Achill one day, and I tell you, it was so windy we wouldn't let the girls out of the car.
Yes, wild. When you talk about the wild Atlantic Way, that's Achill. It's gorgeous.
Absolutely stunning up there, yes.
But you don't want anybody to get blown away because the cliffs, right?
Right, exactly. And, there are days, the day we were up there, I mean, the wind was so fierce that the signs were vibrating. And, I mean, you could see how the signs, had curled from the wind, and they were humming with so much wind. And there was a cyclist that day who was cycling, and those cliffs and the climbs, and I have to tell you, there were times I was amazed. His bike just, he was just at the right angle. You could almost imagine, kind of like that Wizard of Oz moment where the bike goes up into the sky. I could totally see that happening that day.
Oh, bless. That is hardcore.
It really was, but it's amazing, beautiful. I mean, just wild, blow your mind. You think the cliffs of Moher are beautiful, and you get out onto Achill Island around those cliffs, and you're the only one there usually, and just a sight that will blow you away, definitely.
Yeah, you can. That's for sure.
And then you have the evenings in and around Westport as well.
Yes.
So you have terrific restaurants and great pubs and music, and of course kids are allowed in the pubs, so everybody can enjoy it. It's you get out of the big cities and the pub, you really start to understand that pub culture.
Absolutely. And come here, did you get to Matt Malloy's pub? I bet you did. The Chieftains, the big traditional Irish act. So Matt Malloy is the flute player, and he has a fantastic pub in the centre of town. And if you're looking for a session, a traditional Irish music session, you got to go to Matt Malloy's. It's fantastic. Brilliant, brilliant spot. But one of those, and in fact, it's only one of, I think we have 52 pub licenses in Westport. Jody, can you believe that? For a town with a population of 5,000 people.
There you go.
We've got one pub for every 100 people.
There you go.
But, so you've got plenty of choice. But Matt Malloy's would definitely be one for the books. But there's also Johnny Moran's, which is one of those really old school style pubs that still has the grocery shop at the front, the grocery store in front, so you can buy your cornflakes and your tea and your sugar while you have your pint. So it's definitely one to experience. It's one of my favorites. And then, as you say, loads of live music. I mean, there's sessions in Cobbler's Bar, and my local pub would be McGing's, which is a little bit off the beaten path, but you could be in there one night and listen to jazz, and the next night you could be listening to bluegrass, and the next night you could be listening to traditional. So it's a great little town for the nightlife as well, in fairness. Brilliant town.
Perfect. And then, I'm going back to something you said at the very beginning, that we kind of brushed over. Westport House runs a tourist train, and that goes into town, doesn't it? It
does. And do you know what? It's an adorable little land train. So it's a train that drives on the roads, right? Mm-hmm. But it's akin to an open top bus tour, if you like. It's a sightseeing tour of the town. So it takes in the town centre. through the planned streets that I spoke about earlier. It brings you through the Westport House estate, and then it brings you out to the harbour, which is almost like another village beside the town. So you get to kind of, and I always recommend to people to hop on the Westport train tour, you know, in the first kind of day or two of the visit. I know it's something I always do when I go to a new city. I'll do the open-top bus tour to kind of get a sense of the place and pick out the places I want to go back to. So the train tour kind of allows people to get that. And it also tells the story of the town, kind of both the history of it as well as kind of pointing out some of the newer attractions and things to do and just some of the quirky stories about the place as well. It's fun. Good fun.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, now that we have sold everyone on Westport,
hope so.
We're going to kind of wrap this up with a question that I ask everyone who is kind enough to come chat with me, and that is, what are 3 places in Ireland that you think tourists should make it a point to see?
Okay. So this weekend I've got some time off and I want to do something special with my kids before they go back to school. So we're going down to a place called Tullycross, which is in Connemara. And there's a fabulous beach down there called Glassalawn Beach. I totally recommend, if you want to get away and get to the edge of the world, definitely look up Glassalawn Beach, head for Tullycross. And if you're looking for summers today, you can stay in Renville House Hotel. It's a gorgeous little spot. Really lovely. The other thing I recommend people do when they come to Ireland, because it's very different, is take a seaweed bath. So there are some old Victorian-style seaweed bath houses in Enniscrone. Enniscrone it's on the border between Mayo and Sligo.
Okay.
And it happens to be on a beautiful beach where you can kind of go and take a big blustery wild walk and then hop into the steaming hot, literally an old wooden steam box, and then get into the Victorian bath with the seaweed. And I can guarantee you, your skin will never feel so soft. It's unbelievable. It's got great medicinal purposes. And then another place we visited about 3 years ago with the family, we went down to Kerry. And Kerry and the Killarney area is absolutely stunning. It's I know it's on that well-trodden tourist loop, but I have to say it's for good reason. It's a really, really beautiful part of Ireland, and I highly recommend people visit it.
Excellent, yeah, and Killarney is one of those places, you know, obviously it's the gateway to the Ring of Kerry.
Yes.
Dingle Peninsula is becoming more and more well-known. So
it's gorgeous. Definitely a must-do. But don't forget the seaweed baths. If you ever get the opportunity, it's very, very different. But I can guarantee you it'll feel fabulous.
Sounds fabulous. Well, Biddy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. This was just an amazing chat, and I hope it has convinced some people to maybe get, you know, a little bit north of that tourist track and get into Mayo, because it's an amazing area, and Westport is just such a fabulous town, and obviously, you know, that gem of Westport House is something everybody should make time to visit.
Well, we would love, love, love to have your listeners come and visit with us, Jody, and thanks a million for inviting me on. It's been lovely chatting to you, as always. Absolute pleasure. And if any of your listeners have any questions, or if I can ever answer at all, they can visit our website at westporthouse.ie and just send an email to us, and you can put it to my attention, to Biddy's attention, and I'll be happy to answer anything I can do if they're coming into the region.